digital marketing is such an integral part to the success of any uh, business in today's world, particularly with COVID. The COVID-19 has all it's done is accelerated what was eventually going to happen to every business in the country, is that every business is going to have some type of digital footprint or some type of way of staying visible in the world. How do you stay visible? How do you make yourself visible on the digital world? And that's what this presentation is all about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the definition of visibility. So a company that has obtained a high visibility and a reputation for expertise in quality of service in their industry niche. So that's quite a few key words there: visibility, reputation, expertise, quality, industry niche. We're going to go through all of this, but the point is that somehow or another you're able to get your website, your social media, whatever it is that you're doing digitally, visible, so that it is more visible than your competitors, and certainly allows you to link and connect with your customers. So why is it important? Well, quite frankly, you get more opportunities. It's easier to close sales. It makes your company grow faster, and which in turn can lead to higher profits if you manage it correctly. And it certainly will lead, higher profits will certainly lead to greater valuation. And I can tell you, having run a business for 30 years and then sold it, the correlation between growth, profits, and valuations are direct. That's how you create value in a company that's worth selling. All right, here are the 5 keys. Target market, identifying your target market. And I'm going to spend a little time talking to you about buyer personas and what those mean in the digital world. Your website, key piece of digital hardware, if you will, or software, if you will. Social media, content marketing. And then I'm going to do a little bit of digital marketing in action and tell you how all this fits together. So your target market is finding your niche and your buyer personas. So let's break each one of these 2 down. Finding your niche is about narrowing your customer group. You see this little caricature here having 3 different paths to choose. I think many entrepreneurs that I speak with and talk to over the years, and I've been teaching Boost to Business for 5 years, spend too much of their time with too broad a market. They don't narrow themselves down. It's a difficult thing to do. One of the things that can help you do it is through market research, secondary and primary market research, and you heard about that yesterday. This helps you differentiate your products or service so that you are not the same as someone else. Differentiation is one of the key strategies in order to be more visible than your competitors. You want to try to avoid crowded markets, markets where there's already lots of competitors who are trying to compete on price. If you find yourself in a situation where you're trying to compete on price to win business, that is a lose-lose situation long term. Now, buyer persona. This may not be a term that they're familiar with, but it's very, very pertinent in the digital marketing world. A buyer persona is a fictional representation of your ideal customer. So why do I have this picture here of this lady and her son? Well, I want you to imagine a person who runs a children's clothing store. It's a brick and mortar in mall, say, children's clothing store. It doesn't have to be a big mall; it can be a strip mall. What does she who runs this, what does she know about her ideal customer? Well, one of the things it helps to do is to actually have a real picture. This picture comes from my presentations to the Puerto Rican business community, and what I say to them, I say to you is, well, what's the story in this person? How many children does she have? Where does she work? How much money does she spend on clothes? Does she have more than one child? Um, and most importantly, where does she go on the internet to find out about children's clothes? When she does this search on children's clothes, is your website or your content likely to come up? That's what a buyer persona will help you do. Now, having identified your target market, the next thing you need to worry about is a website. Well, why a website? I mean, why, that's kind of old stuff. No, actually it's not. Websites actually are the backbone of most key digital marketing programs. And a high performing website is essential to being visible on the internet. There are 4 key factors that you have in order to construct a good website: clear messaging and professional imagery, responsive design, educational content, and something called search engine optimization. So we'll take each one of these. Clear and high performance websites have clear message and imagery. If your eyes gravitate over to the left side of the screen and you're looking at these parakeets or these very colorful birds, that's what it's intended to do, and you're not looking at the text so much. I pick this to actually distract you so that you can see the power of what good imaging does. If you put on your website image that are not very good, you won't be able to get the same kind of response that you would if you had imaging that is good. 80% of buyers go on your website first before they ever either visit you online or walk into your store or buy your products over the phone or whatever it is, the method of delivery that you have. Your imaging should represent what you do, what your target market is all about, and why they should buy from you. Professional imagery is actually best done if you have original photographs of your own operation or your surrounding areas. Stock photos are okay, like this one, but to use local photos are even better. And images should be should be descriptive of your brand. It should make consistent imagery and color all the way through. Now, a high-performance website also has responsive design. In today's world, we deal in mobile. All of us have some type of mobile device, mostly a mobile phone, in which we get our content. Studies tell us that most people get their content from mobile devices, but your website has to be able to operate on a desktop, laptop, tablet, mobile phone, or any other new technology that's going to come out. And you can see here on the right-hand side all the different devices. So each time the website pops up, the experience that an individual has looking at your site should be a pleasurable one. They shouldn't have slow load speeds. They shouldn't have to search all over the place for content. It should fold out in a logical way, and it should, the aspect ratio, that's the length and the width and the length and the width of a image, should fit the device. So responsive design is very important, and a good website developer will know how to do that. High-performing websites also have educational content. The days of trying to beat your customers over the head with sales pitches and selling through discounts are over. Inbound marketing, in which you're trying to educate and delight your customers and help them through their buying process, is where things are today. Such things as guides, blogs, resource sections on your websites that have content and information that your buyers are looking for. Useful and relevant expertise seeks to educate your audience on what you're all about. You want to try to stay away from brochures, sales pitches, and stuff like that. I see too many of those on websites. I see far too many on social media, which we'll get to later. But you want to be a helpful, trusted advisor. You want to be the go-to website, the go-to person for key information. That way, when somebody gets ready to make a buy, they'll go to you instead of somebody else. And lastly, you probably have heard this word somewhere out there called search engine optimization, SEO. I love this chart because you see it's in black, because SEO is considered sort of a black art, and the people that actually do search engine optimization are really kind of geeky technical people that work in the backgrounds. However, it really only has 4 key things. Number one, relevant keywords. These are words that describe your business. As I told you, let's use the example of the children's clothing store. Well, what we mean there is you certainly want to come up high on the word children's clothing, or children's clothing in whatever neighborhood you're in. You want to make sure that your website is up on the first or second page of Google, preferably the first page. Otherwise, you're not going to be visible. Your website authority, that means what does it link to? If you are, for example, in the trucking business, and your website is not associated with the National Truckers Association or the National Department of Transportation, it's not linked to authoritative institutions that already rank high, then your website will not rank high. And professionals who work in this field can help you do that. User experience, responsiveness. That again, that goes back to what we were talking about, being making sure the website loads quickly, the website has a good feel, has color schemes that are the same. All of this is very important. And then, of course, technology. Whatever technology is it's out there or going to be out there, your search engine optimization needs to follow that. Okay. In this world, Google is the leader. 80% of all searches are done on Google, and so you're going to need to follow Google's example. Social media. This is our third area. Big piece of what we do. Most of you in this room at some point, at some level, have a social media presence, probably on Facebook. However, if you get into the business world and you're dealing business to business, your main source of connection on social media should be LinkedIn. It is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is 94% of B2B content. Twitter is number 2, and then Facebook is number 3. Let's not get confused here. Facebook is by far the biggest social media platform of them all and used by most people. However, from a business point of view, it's B2C, business to consumer, not B2B, business to business, where you will find LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm sorry, where you'll find Facebook. Facebook could be business to consumer. So what do you use social media for? Well, you use it to network. In today's world, with the COVID, you have to have some kind of networking presence in which you're trying to engage people with your content and get them to comment, like, and share what you're doing. You can do content promotion, in which you put something on your feed that's about you. For example, there's an article written about me that came out for Veterans Day in the Franchise Journal. Well, I immediately took that article and put it on all of my social media feeds, and I posted it on the media section of my website. And that's promoting my content, promoting me. Now, you want to do this sparingly, because what you don't want your content to be about you. Your content has to be about your customers. But if every once in a while you come up with something that's about you, then people respond to it. And right now I have 300 or more, 300 more likes for that one post. Very rare I normally get somewhere between 50 and 100. Search engine optimization has to be critical, and recruiting. This is becoming a real battle. Most professional services firms, these are the firms that I typically deal with, and mostly government contractors, are having a very difficult time recruiting individuals. Recruiting is really becoming, I'm talking about people with skills that are required by high-end users. It was really becoming a real issue, and the ability to go on social media to find talent is significant. So again, let's just go through each one of these. LinkedIn, it's primarily for business to business. You can research your target market. There are so many people who are in LinkedIn. For example, if you're a government contractor, you can actually target an agency and find out all the individuals that are in that agency using some of the search techniques that LinkedIn gives you. Networking, I primarily use LinkedIn for networking, recruiting, and then, of course, if you want to make a good impression on LinkedIn, have a great profile page, professional photo, descriptive title, and link it to your website, okay? Facebook. The most effective ways to use Facebook is create an impressive profile page. Again, state clearly what your business is and what you do, regularly post content, and seek professional digital marketing help. Now, most of us, like even myself, I have a Facebook account, but it's all personal. It's all the stuff that I share with all my friends and all the things that I do. So if you have one of these, there is no way you can convert it into a business. It's just got too much history. If you're trying to go to B2C, what you need to do is create a corporate Facebook account so that your target market and your potential customers can go on that to find out what's important to them. The picture of you sitting on the beach, chilling with shades on, is not what will help your customers and solve their problems. So again, look to create a professional Facebook page if you have a personal one. Twitter. Twitter is something that I've just recently begun to start using seriously. I've had a Twitter account for a little while now, and I find myself tweeting every day. As opposed to LinkedIn, I'll have about 16 posts a year. Twitter, I have 4 posts, but I tweet every day, and I usually use curated content. That means I'll find something in a magazine or a newspaper related to my target audience, and I'll tweet it, and that way I kind of keep myself top of mind for those who are on Twitter. It's mostly for B2C and B2B companies. It could go either way. Also, government contractors and government people also use Twitter. YouTube. YouTube is an absolutely fabulous way, and in order to get your content shown, particularly if you're trying to educate your customers on what it is you're doing. Making a video of yourself and creating a YouTube account, very, very cheap way to get yourself out there. It's ideal for sharing multimedia content, especially good for educating your clients, as I've just said. And you can also record such things as webinars, presentations, product demos. You guys all know that there are many people already out there on YouTube who are, that's their life. That's how they make their living. They have a YouTube channel and they're spitting out content on a daily, weekly basis for which you subscribe to and pay for to hear them. All right, now let's talk about content marketing, which some of you may or may not have heard of, but it really is the lifeblood of what digital marketing is all about. Now, what is content marketing? Well, content marketing is the educational material that is useful and relevant to your target audience. In the digital world, content is king. If in the business world, cash is king to a business, content is king to a digital campaign. Your content must demonstrate expertise. It should be good enough to be shared so that you can get referrals. 86% of B2B companies use it. I know I use it. I know the people that are in my space use it constantly. The ability to have relevant content is key to a successful digital marketer. Now, how do you develop this content? Well, there's two things that you have to keep in mind. Thing number one is your client's needs. What do they need? Your content is about them, not about you. So many times businesses start off by saying, me, I can do this, I can do that, I can do these, I can do those. That might be useful to your clients. More than likely, it probably isn't. Unless you have done research that will validate that the content that you're putting out really it really is relevant to your target audience. So determine your client's needs first, and then figure out which your products and services that fit those needs are. And the overlap between those two is, in fact, the way you're going to develop successful content. So let me drill down a little further. So I'm just going to talk to this matrix right here. So this is your target audience right here, okay? So what you want to do over, say, a course of, say, anywhere from 3 to 6 months is you want to develop 2 major issues. And let's go back to this children's clothing store. What are 2 major issues that a children's clothing store's target audience might be interested in? Well, one of them might be the durability of children's clothes. How do you buy clothes that are durable and last and don't wear out after 2 or 3 washings? That's important to a household. The second is, how do you pick a size? Since kids grow all the time, what is the best practice on picking sizes so that the kids can wear them over a period of time? So if those are 2 main issues that you have researched and you understand that your target market is really interested in those 2 things, then what you want to do is you want to write topics, videos, blogs, white papers, guides, any media that you want about those issues, and just do it over and over and over again for at least 3 to 6 months. Now, you want to change your issues maybe, again, 2 to 3 times a year, but you want to make sure that you keep coming back to the same issue over and over and over, okay? All right. Other types of content delivery platforms are webinars. Webinars are a great way to demonstrate your expertise and educate your audience. Your social media posts is a great way to speak directly to your audience. Your guides are medium length pieces, usually for website download. Usually they're on your website and you have to download them. Sometimes they're gated, meaning that you have to give your a name and email address to get the guide. And then you have ebooks. Now, this is the ultimate statement in reputation expertise. And it's really just a long version of a guide. And here's where you probably say, okay, Bob, I'm getting fatigued. You're wearing me out. This ebook thing is way, way, way off my radar. There's no way I have time to sit down and write ebooks. You don't need to sit down and write an ebook. In fact, the way ebooks typically are developed is you start off with your social media post. You roll your social media post up into a guide. You can get probably 2 or 3 topics and combine that and make it one guide. And then if you get 3 or 4 guides, that can become an ebook. So if you do your content systematically over a course of a year, you just naturally create these other forms, which again enhances your reputation as the ultimate expert in the field that you're trying to sell to your target market. Okay, now we're going to come to digital marketing in action. So I've covered the first 4 things. Here's some things that you need to be aware of. Thing number 1 is to understand the marketing funnel. There are 3 phases of marketing funnel. There's the attract phase, there's the build and engage phase, and there's turn into opportunity into client. So look over here at this funnel. So this funnel shows you that for every 1,000 leads, you can turn these into prospects and 10 customers. So that means that you have to have 100 prospects in order to get 10 customers. In order to get 100 prospects, you need 1,000 leads. And that is not a bad ratio. I think probably a little steep, but for illustrative purposes for this presentation, you would want to make sure that you put the appropriate content in each one of these stages. So at the attract stage, at the very top up here, what you'd use is blog posts, articles, videos, networking and speaking when those eventually come back. Your networking speaking today are webinars. You can hone your skills over a webinar, and believe me, when the pandemic leaves, webinars and this type of meeting format will continue on. For a prospect, someone who's already visited your website and started moving around, maybe they want to download a guide or a research report or an ebook. That's when you start engaging with your customers. That's when your customers start understanding a lot more about you. And then you want to turn those prospects into clients. That's where you have these call to actions in your materials, where in which call to actions are actually at every stage. So in a blog post and articles, you want to say, okay, visit my website. And in fact, all of my social media, if you want to see my social media, you want to read the article, the article that you click is actually on my website. So you automatically go to my website and you become a visitor. If you then engage with me and you want to see one of my guides, you have to download it, give me your name and your email address, and I'll send you the guide. And then if you're interested and say, well, gee whiz, I think, I want to learn more about this digital marketing stuff, and maybe my company needs it, then that's when you reach out and sign the contact us or push the button or go on the Calendly, which is a vehicle that will direct you right to my calendar, and I will be able to take the meeting right there. Okay, the next thing I want you to understand is that all of this works off of a customer relationship management system, a CRM, where in which your sales, feedback, support, and marketing are all in one area. So your CRM stores all your contacts, your prospects, and your influence. It has all that data, your name, your address, your email, any preferences that you have. It has all this in one place. So, and also is able to segment it. So let's take, for example, go back to the children's clothing store. So if you send out content to the buyer persona of the mother, then you would want to have a certain content for them. But you know who's a big buyer of children's clothes? Is the grandparents and the aunts and the uncles. Oh my gosh. I have 3 kids. I know many of you have kids. I mean, you know what it's like to have the grandparents come in and buy stuff for your kids. So you would need a whole nother buyer persona for them, and you want to make sure that you don't send them the same thing you send the mother. You want to have it targeted. That's where you segment your data into groups and use this as a hub for delivering your content. And then lastly, and most importantly, to be honest with you guys, measure your digital effectiveness. If you're not measuring, then and you don't have a measuring capability, you don't really know. And believe me, I work with all kinds of businesses and trade associations, professional services businesses and trade associations, primarily government contractors, and almost none of them have any type of tracking mechanism. And that's where you have to invest your money. If you're going to build a website, make sure that website has Google Analytics next to it. We use SEMrush, which is a tool that allows us to cut across social media and website and a whole bunch of other stuff. But you can do it just by taking your, if you don't have money for that, just get out a pencil and paper and count the number of visits to your website. Organic search and your keyword analytics. You would have to, I'm sorry, get that information from the Google Analytics, but you don't need to have anything sophisticated. Even more so on your social media. Now, develop a calendar. That's the best way to make sure that you get you can track. So, for example, last night I just finished reading and proofing the 2 blogs that I'm going to send out, and the 16 posts with the images that are going to go out in December. And I've got a service that actually does this automatically for me. And then I turn it over to them, and then they're gonna send it out, and that way it happens automatically. But it's up to me to track the followers, the comments, the shares, the likes. And so I know which one of my posts resonate and which ones don't. And if you don't know what's working and what's not working, it's really difficult. The way to look at this is to look at this like you're running a car. You would never run a car without a dashboard, without a fuel gauge, without a turn signal, without knowing whether your lights are you're on or not, although you probably can get some indication of that looking over the window, but you understand what I mean. Is the dashboard is tells you what's going on with the car, engine lights, so forth and so on. So that's the key thing that you want to make sure of, is that you know and getting feedback on where your digital marketing efforts are going. Okay. So this concludes my presentation on digital marketing.